Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am your host, Rex Triple X Ruger, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. You're looking at him, and damn, I look good in this lighting. Coming to you from the garage, the lab. You see the purple people eater behind me. You see the heavy bag. This is where Rex comes when he needs to get back to reality, tap into the animal within. And that's what tonight's guest made me want to do. But first and foremost, I'm Rex Ruger, and I'm Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. And that we will find out conclusively very soon. That's right, I am the son of glam. Front man for the band. Got a million fans. Just smoked a few grams. Always going out with a bang. Mr. Wham Bam, thank you, ma'am. Shazam, hot damn. I'm the man with the golden voice and the silver tongue. That's right. And you're looking at him, the hair metal high priest. King of sleaze, baby. But tonight, I got a good guest, so I'm not even going to go into pumping any of my bands. As always, Pod Scum, we are the No Frills podcast. No cute intro, no little theme song, no cute thing jumping across the screen. We get right into it, warts and all. Dive into the murkiness with our guests. You see me with my half-assed computer skills. You see it all. While we're waiting for my guest here, I'll pump one of my bands here because I don't want to leave this guy waiting. Postcoital Drip. Postcoital Drip is about to release our new album, Ankles Behind Ears. So be looking on music platforms for that and get excited. And get excited about my guest, too, because I know I am. Going to be on my P's and Q's. I took it back right here. Gave him a little background. Let him know that I'm about it, too. I'm about it. I'm living that life. A little bit of glam, a little bit of sleaze, but I can get down and dirty, too, with these. And so can my guest here. See, you're getting a good look right here. You're getting a good look at exactly how it's done. How it's done on the run. He'll be coming in a minute. Obviously, I've tipped it off a little bit, giving you the fisticuff. So guys obviously know this is a guy who's a face puncher for a living. So we don't really want to get on his bad side. So while we wait, when you continue to talk about my bands, then the Jizz drops. Of course, we just dropped Meat Whistler's Delight. Let me see. What else can I tell you? What else is going on here? Now I'm going to make him wait. What's he going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Just kidding. Just kidding if he watches this back. Come on the rug. Come on the rug. All right. I better stop. Our guest is here. I was just kidding. I was just talking shit. I don't really want to leave him waiting. And good God, you guys don't want to listen to me droning on and on and on. So we'll get him in here. We'll get him in here and see if he appreciates the blonde locks that rock. We'll find out. We will find out. There he is. Hello, sir.
How you doing?
Mr. Stevie Forbes. How are you?
I'm good.
Are you looking at the luscious locks and wishing you had these?
Yeah. They look good.
It's high maintenance, though. It's high maintenance.
I hear you.
So, former IBF super featherweight champ. Got that from TKO and John Brown. You beat him twice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a guy. Now, that's the term, right, when you say you got someone's number right there, right?
Yeah, he was tough, though. Every time, both times.
Now, how and why, what was your upbringing like? What led you to boxing?
You know what? I was always like martial arts and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Boxing was a natural, for me. I was, I kind of stayed to myself as a kid and all that. And so boxing was an outlet to express myself. I was kind of a little bit of a loner. I mean, I had some friends and stuff like that, but I was more to myself. So boxing was, I felt like I guess I had another personality or something in boxing, you know.
Now, you were born incredibly small, though, thus your nickname of Stevie 2 pounds Forbes, right? I mean, you were born very small, so very unlikely, first of all, to not even have lingering health problems, but to get into a sport that's so physical. Did you have health problems when you were young, or were you just born at 2 pounds and then just had a regular, normal childhood?
No, I did have health problems. I would get really sick. I had pneumonia as a kid when I was growing up. Yeah, I had some few health problems growing up, and then I kind of outgrew it, I guess.
So when's the first time that you go into a boxing gym? Like, what gets you into a boxing gym? A friend, a family member? You find it yourself?
Well, they had the boxing gym right at the rec center, maybe about a half mile from where I grew up and lived at. Yeah. And they had basketball there, swimming, gymnastics, karate. And so one day I went in the gym. It's funny though, because the weekend, that weekend, which I want to say maybe Saturday or Sunday, I went to the grocery store with my grandma, and this was in 1987. Evander Holyfield was Fighter of the Year, cruiserweight.
Wow.
Undisputed cruiserweight champion.
Yes.
And for some reason, I asked my grandma, I said, can I get that magazine? And she was like, yeah, okay, I'll get it for you. And I got it, and I was going through it, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go to the gym on Monday. Because I would always walk by and kind of look in there and see guys working out. And that next weekend, I went in there. And I mean, that following week, I went in there.
Who's the first guy? Who's the first guy that you connect with in there? Who's the first guy that really takes you under his wing and trains you?
A guy by the name of Don Davis. We call him
owe it all to him.
He was a coach. Don Davis took me under his wing, kind of, let me. He wouldn't let me spar at first. I was in there shadow boxing and just watching the guys. I think a week went by before he finally let me spar. Which I sparred. I loved it.
Now you had 50 professional fights, but how long were you an amateur?
I was an amateur from, I would say, about 10, 11 till about 17.
Okay.
Yeah. About 17.
You have a good amateur career?
Yeah, I had a pretty good amateur career. The funny part about it is I always knew I wanted to be a pro. So a lot of pros would come in the gym, so I would hang around and train with them because they would come in a little bit later.
Right.
Most of us, like us kids, we would get there about 4:00. And we would train to about 4 to 6:30, and the pros would come in around 6:30. They'll stay to 8:30.
But what happens when the pros come in? When the pros come in, you guys get kicked out?
No, we can still stay in there, but a lot of us, a lot of the kids would leave. I would stay around and watch them spar and ask them questions and stuff like that.
Are there any pros from back then that stand out that you remember seeing there?
We had a guy by the name of Marcellus Allen. He was a light heavyweight. Yep. His biggest fight, he fought Michael Moore when Moore was undefeated light heavyweight knockout artist.
Yep.
And he lost to Michael Moore, but he had went the furthest with Michael Moore at that time. And he was one of the more notable guys during my era. I mean, we had guys like Ray Lampkin, Sr., but he was before my time. And we had a few other. He was the most probably a prospect, I would say, at that time, because I think he was 14-0 by the time he fought Michael Moore. We had a guy that kind of took me under his wing too, and a mailman who was old pro named Clayton Hires, who fought. He has a win over Floyd Mayweather Sr. He fought Terry Norris. Okay. He fought a lot of the guys, the who's who. And so those guys, I would kind of stick around and just watch.
Sure.
Questions.
Something's wrong if you're not learning something off those guys, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
So at the point in time of your career that you do the ESPN show, The Contender, what were you trying to achieve out of doing that? Were you trying to get a resurgence of your career?
I was. I feel like my career before that, even though I had won the title, I was like, I haven't had that big shot, to really be seen. I remember being the champion, and I always said I'm like the forgotten champion. I'm the guy that wasn't the Olympian guy. I wasn't fighting on the big networks. I was fighting on Fox Sports, which I loved because they was, showing my fights. But so when I did the Contender, I had nothing really happening. I was fighting on, off TV shows and stuff like that. And so the Contender, I was like, you know what, this is a shot. For one, I have to move. I'm going to move up in weight. I'm a former 130-pound titleist. I'm not known as being a big puncher. And this tournament is at 150 pounds. It's a little bit over the welterweight. It's between welterweight and junior middleweight. And I said, you know what, this will be a time for me to show what I can do. And it's funny that you asked me about the Contender.
Yeah.
I had a conversation. Everybody I talked to about doing it, they say you shouldn't do it. This can damage you. You shouldn't do it. Roger Mayweather was probably the only person that told me I should do it. And I'll tell you, I remember the conversation. I said, Roger, that Contender show? He's like, yeah. I said, they offered me to do that. I said, the only thing is the weight, is heavier. He says, well, see if you can have them weigh you in the same day. I said, I'm going to find out. So I went and talked to the producers and found out how they were going to do it. And they said, no, we'll weigh in. You'll weigh in that day, and then you guys will fight later. And I said, okay, this might be good because I'll walk around at this weight that the tournament is at. And he said, this is what he said to me. He says, I said, people are saying I shouldn't do it, Roger. He says, are you getting paid for it? I said, yeah. He says, are you getting exposure? I said, yeah. He says, this is an opportunity, man. You got to do it. He says, sure, you can fight. You know how to fight. He's like, don't worry about that. And so that gave me, that helped me make my decision.
And you did have a good run on the show.
Oh yeah. Made all the way to the end. And then it's funny because I thought the whole tournament would go weighing in the same day. And then in the final, I'm weighing in and we got 24 hours. I'm like, oh, this guy's going to be big, and even then it was the horrible finale, just the style wise, it just wasn't.
It was,
Even though I thought I won, I think Grady may have won by 1 point, but it was one of those fights that I was like, this is disappointing. I think this kind of might have hurt me a little bit, but.
Well, the thing that I find interesting about you, and I talked about this with I had not that long ago, I had Chop Shop Corley on here, and he's another guy who is never an easy out for anybody. Like I'm looking at the resume here, Andre, amongst others, Andre Berto, Jesse Vargas, Oscar De La Hoya, Demetrius Hopkins. You may not win these fights, but you take these guys all the way, though. Like, you're not an easy out for anybody. Do you feel like any of those decisions could have gone the other way? I know the Demetrius Hopkins one was extremely controversial.
Yeah, that was a big controversial. And I'll answer your question, but with the Demetrius Hopkins, I was like, I felt like I knew I had won that fight.
Yeah,
I just felt in my heart that I won that fight.
Worst. That's gotta be the worst.
Yeah, it's horrible. I'm coming off the Contender finale. I go to that fight. No one from the Contender organization comes to my fight. I think maybe the accountant came. That hurt my that hurt my feelings. I'm thinking before, when I first got on this show, you guys didn't really know how I was going to do. But then when you knew I was in the finals, everybody was excited and Steve's our guy. And then, not such a good outing in the final. I thought we both looked
how fast people forget, right? And walk away from it.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
And so with the Hopkins fight, I said, I'll take this fight. I know I can beat him. I train good. And then, we get to the decision and it was horrible. So it's funny because maybe a week after that fight, I actually talked to Bernard Hopkins on the phone and he told me, hey, you know how it goes, man. He says,
Politics.
You know what you did. You know what you did in that fight. And that was pretty much it. That's all I needed to hear. So I said to those guys, I said, listen, I know I probably won't get a rematch with Demetrius. Give me another prospect. And so I got a chance to fight Francisco Bojado.
Right.
And finally got that win. And then I got the Oscar fight. But no, I thought with after the Oscar fight, the Berto fight, I thought that was. I felt like I could have had that fight. I felt like the scoring was a little bit. I mean, he was a young, undefeated, young champion. He had the right look, but I watched that fight and I was like, skill for skill, man. I don't know. But it is what it is. I'm an older fighter. He was a younger guy coming up,
right?
So I really couldn't, complain too bad. I was like, I kind of know how it goes.
Now, when you fight a guy like, of those names that I mentioned, obviously the one that stands out because he's a boxing Hall of Famer, Oscar De La Hoya. What do you take away from fighting Oscar De La Hoya? What was it like being in there with, the Golden Boy?
It's funny because during that fight, it's almost like it wasn't even real. It was, it was like you're in a trance. I was in a trance the whole time. From I would say, probably. From arriving at the arena the day of the fight, I was just in a trance, and I'm thinking, I don't feel nervous or anything. It's all these 30,000 people here. This is the longest ring walk I have ever had in my life.
The ring walk was long. I watched it again the other day. Very long ring walk. Yeah, I think you guys were fighting. I think you guys were fighting where in Los Angeles?
Yeah, we was at StubHub now.
And I think your ring walk started in San Francisco.
It
felt like it.
It felt like it. I mean, that was one of the longest walks ever. But no, fighting him, you hear about Oscar's left hook. So I'm in the fight and I'm thinking, they keep talking about this left hook. I'm kind of waiting around. I want to see what happens.
You almost want to taste one at that point, right? You almost want to.
I wanted him to land it like in the first round or so I can be like, okay, I took it. He actually did land it in the 10th round. He caught me with a left hook, but then I'm like, oh, it's it's a good shot, but I'm just gonna fire back. It was, for me that fight was. It was a good fight because it was, I was like David versus Goliath. This guy is multiple champion. He's a
Oscar, the much bigger guy at that time,
much bigger guy. Bigger pedigree, just everything. To me, honestly, I felt like, what, I'm in a win-win position because I'm not gonna go down here and fold up. I know I'm the smaller guy, but I'm gonna fight like hell. And that was one of the fights where I kind of felt like, okay, I mean, all those years of trying to get be in the mix, and I get this opportunity.
I'm getting the vibe. I'm getting the vibe after you shook off the left hook from Oscar that you almost want to give me the same story that Chop Corley gave me. He obviously fought Floyd Mayweather Jr. and came right on my show and said Floyd hit like a bitch. Is that what we're saying about Oscar? Is that what we're saying about Oscar?
I'm not going to say that about Oscar. Oscar can't punch because that left hook. It's funny because when he landed it, I'm thinking, okay, it's not so bad. Then all of a sudden, everything got real foggy and heavy, and I'm like, oh. Let me grab this guy, I'm like, okay, I get what that left hook is, I get
now, what was the relationship like? Now, you were trained in that De La Hoya fight by Jeff Mayweather. And Oscar was trained by Floyd Sr. Now, how does that dynamic work? Like, like those two guys working against each other. Do they train fighters in the same vicinity, or are you guys like very separate? Like, did they not work together?
Well, I think Floyd Sr., he went to Puerto Rico with Oscar, and Jeff and I stayed in Las Vegas. So it was, for me, it reminded me of like an amateur thing, because you'll get guys that all train together, and then like I remember being in the junior nationals, and I got a bronze medal at the U.S. Championships in the JO division. And so my coach, who I came there with, who I lived with, who I trained with, they put him on another team because we got to go to the Olympic Training Center afterwards, and they had like a box off. And so my coach that I live with, that I know since I was a little kid, they transfer him to another team. But the good thing is I didn't have to fight against any of his guys.
That's nice.
So it kind of felt like that. Like, okay, I'm training with Floyd Sr. I know I had trained with Floyd Sr. throughout my career, and I had trained with Roger and Jeff. So that whole family. So when Floyd Sr. went with Oscar, I knew that was going to happen, but I was like, okay, I'm going to train with Roger. And me and Roger had an agreement. We're going to train. But, the news came out. Floyd Mayweather got upset and told Roger, if he trains me, how that. But I said, oh, look, no, I'm going to get Jeff, because Jeff, he's like a mixture of both of them. So I still had that. I still had somebody that I feel like that knows me, knows my style, know what I can do.
Right.
And that was it. It was interesting though in a fight like that.
Yeah. Now, do you have any relationship with the Mayweathers? Anybody in that family still at this point? Any relationship with Senior, Junior? Obviously Roger passed away, correct? Yeah. Yeah. But
me and Jeff. I'll probably speak more to Jeff than anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, me and Floyd was always cool. I haven't spoke to him in a while. He's super busy. I totally get it. But with Jeff and I, matter of fact, Jeff just sent me a message not too long ago. So,
funny guy.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty close with Jeff.
Now, what do you think? Let me get your take on because they're obviously highly debated at this point. What do you think they do for boxing, these gimmick fights? Like when you see these Jake Paul spectacles or these, what do you like? Did you like these or are you not for them?
I don't have a problem with it. I think it does help boxing, the actual fighting, but all this, I don't like the where I feel like kind of making a joke of some of the boxing.
Or media circus. Yeah, a lot of media.
Yeah, it's a circus. Yeah. I saw Jake Paul's interview where he's talking about Hakeem Rockman and these fighters are not professional and stuff like that. You can't start pissing on, real fight like these fighters.
Right.
You gotta, whatever you guys agreed that's between you guys.
Wouldn't it irritate you if you were still very actively boxing though and had been slaving and grinding away at this since you were 6, 7, 8 years old, and somebody like him steps in and gets a huge payday? It's got to bug the hell out of.
It does. Oh yeah. I would, to all the fighters that's been doing this, since they were little kids.
It's almost like they're being leapfrogged over by this YouTube guy. It's kind of sad in a way, because some of these guys, being a boxer, it's a lifestyle. It's an everyday lifestyle that some guys really sacrifice a lot to do. And these kids just kind of come in and it almost feels like they're playing fantasy boxing camp. They're getting to grab these fights that they want to make them popular. And I don't know, It just leaves me with a bad taste sometimes. But I do like that I do like what you say, that it draws attention to the sport though.
It does. The negative thing following what you said is, they do bring people in here, but by doing this and talking negative about the fighters, the actual guys that's been in this game a long time, these fans, they don't know. They're gonna listen to the YouTuber and think, oh well, these fighters are not professional and all.
Right.
That's kind of that's making a mockery in my opinion of all these guys that put all this work in.
Yep.
But I do like watching the fact that it is bringing a lot more eyes to the sport, and it is. That's positive.
So what do you think about when you were growing up and you were thinking about getting into boxing, or you got the itch for boxing? Who were the first guys that you really idolized in your career? The first guys that you looked at and really were in awe of?
Oh, man, I liked so many guys. Meldrick Taylor, Pernell Whitaker.
Yeah, Sweet Pea comes up a lot. Sweet Pea comes up a lot.
Sweet Pea, man, Sweet Pea was mean. I mean, he was a technical guy, but he was a mean fighter.
Yeah.
From all the stories I've heard from people being in camp with him and being just around him as not mean like a mean, but as far as in the ring, like he
able to tap into that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was not a pushover type guy. But my favorite all-time fighter coming up, especially when I hit 13, 14, 15, was James Toney.
Lights out. You just got into the Hall of Fame.
Even some of the stuff that I tried to do in my fights was more of a tribute to him. Some of the shoulder roll stuff.
One of the all-time greats.
Yeah, he just, and it was good for me throughout my career that I got to work with the Mayweathers. They're from Michigan, and Tony has that Michigan style, fighting behind the shoulder. Yeah. Some people call it the Philly shell, but a lot of times in Michigan, they don't say the Philly shell. They say fighting behind the shoulder. So
right.
I love that style. And JT was one of my. He just was fight anybody anywhere, and so
Amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Now, are there any fights when you were coming up and in your prime? Were there any fights that you wanted to get? And was there ever a time when you were ever close to fighting Floyd yourself?
Yes, but I'll tell you, I wanted to fight Casimir.
Okay.
I felt like, because we were all champion at the same time. I was IBF, Floyd was WBC, Casimiro was WBA, and Acelino Freitas was WBO. And my good friend, Diego Corrales, who was IBF champ, we had the same manager and stuff.
Rest in peace to Chico.
Yes, rest in peace to Chico. Yeah. Him and I would train together all the time. And he told me when I beat David Santos, he says, "You're going to fight for the vacant IBF title." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "You're IBF champ." He's like, "I'm going to move up." He's like, I'm growing this weight class. I'm going to move up. So he vacated the title. And, of course, I got to fight John Brown. And then he came back down to fight Floyd. But, he was really struggling to make weight and all that stuff. Nothing to taking nothing from Floyd. Floyd's great. But I always wanted to have a unification fight with Casimiro. I just felt like my style would give him problems. And it's funny, I talked to Joe Goosen about this. I talk to Joe quite a bit every once in a while.
Yep.
And he said this to me. He says, I had Casimiro's career and that was a fight I wasn't interested in.
Yeah. So they didn't want the smoke. Yeah.
Yeah. He says because he said you were fearless and you wanted that fight. He's like, we're not going to give you what you want, know. So yeah.
So what's life after boxing been like for you? I see the stuff that you put up on your page. You're obviously a very upbeat, very positive guy. You seem to like to put that out there into the world. What's life been like? I mean, you look great. You sound great. You look like everything's going great for you. So what are you doing these days?
I am an entrepreneur. Also, we promote me and my lady. We promote small shows. I mean, we've done 4 shows, promoted 4 pro boxing shows. We were gonna do something right before the pandemic hit, and then boom, that kind of But we're gonna get back at it.
We're gonna get a lot of stuff. Yeah.
But you know what? For a while, I was kind of, I was in a depressive type mode. You go through your career, you kind of look back and you look at a lot of things you feel like could have been better, or, I think you do that, experience that in life also. And so I just say, you know what, man, I still got a lot to offer as far as boxing, not necessarily inside the ring, but, helping fighters and promoting our little small shows that we do. And,
sure.
Talking
giving young guys a chance. Yeah.
So, I mean, I just said, I want to be upbeat, and I love the sport, and there's a lot more things I can do as far as just being involved.
Well,
somehow.
I'll tell you what, man. You're talking to Rex Ruger, but in his boxing days, it was Tyrannosaurus Rex Ruger, and I was 18-0, and they were all KOs.
Oh,
that's how I get with these hands.
You okay?
Of course, most of it is in my own mind, though. So I mean,
hey, that's where they say that's where it starts. It starts in your mind.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. That's nice, Stevie. Thank you. Okay, now, here's an important part of the interview that I really want to delve into. Enough about the fighting nonsense, all that stuff. Your grandmother. From what I've read on her, and I had a fantastic relationship with my grandmother. I'm fully convinced that almost everything that I learned, no disrespect to my parents, but I was an old soul at a young age, and I could really just sit there next to her and just hear those old stories and just glean so much wisdom from her. Talk about your relationship. I mean, from the articles I've read on her, they nicknamed her Hurricane Mary. She did all that down there with the people that suffered during Hurricane Katrina. She was a pastor, opening up health clinics for people. I mean, talk about the impact that she had on your life. She sounds like a fierce woman.
Yeah, she was, just a special person. She, we talk about like I talk to people about the law of attraction and stuff like that. My whole career was that. I mean, all the positive stuff. She taught me that. I remember when I was going to turn pro. I'll tell you a story real quick.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I was in Las Vegas. Wasn't really doing nothing. I was just trying to get things going. And a guy brought me out there and kind of put me in a hotel and was like, "You're on your own." And I'm stuck here. So I call home and my grandma says, "Okay." And she always made me answer my own. Well, she always made me solve my own problems by asking me questions.
Yep.
She said to me, "All right, so you're here, you're in Vegas." I was 19 years old, no money, no nothing. She says, "All right, here's a couple things." She says, "I'm going to send you some money to get food and stuff." And then she says, "The other question is, do you want to come home?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't be here." And she says, "Okay, stop. Now, if you come home, your whole dream of you want to be a pro." And it's funny because I wasn't even thinking about turning pro and all that. I mean, I was, but at the time, you know, I'm in a hotel. I'm like, I have no money. I'm not thinking about that. She says, now, you know, she was a spiritual woman. She was like, "You need to pray."
Yep.
So she says, "You need to pray after we get off the phone and ask God to direct you and help you." She says, "But if you want to come home, I'll bring you home and then you figure it out." Yeah. Or she says, "Or you stay there and I'm going to send you some money up and you can, you know, it'll be enough to, you know, get you by for another week there and you'll figure it out from there." And I was like, "You know what? I'm going to stay." And she was like, "All right." She's like, "All right."
Yeah.
And I said, and she's like, "All right. So you don't let me down." And, you know, fast forward, you know, she ended up turned pro up here and, you know, turned pro in Vegas and just, she was amazing. She was one of those people that believed in me and helped me to believe in myself. And she, you know, always taught me that, you know what, as long as you believe it, that's all that matters. You know. Was she
somebody that liked to actually come to your fights? Could she watch you actually box?
Oh yeah. Yep. She was the night I won the title, against John Brown the first time.
Yep.
Roger Mayweather, something got messed up where he didn't make his plane trip. So I didn't have really a cheering section. She flew up there. And she was like, this is what she started doing in my dressing room. She's like, you gotta claim that you're gonna be champion tonight. Because I know I was the underdog. I was like, I was a big underdog because John Brown had fought Diego. He had fought Shane Mosley. You know, he was in there. He was a beast.
Yeah.
You know, and so she got a notepad and started writing IBF champion all over it, plastering everywhere in the trailer. We were in Miami at the Mitsuki Gaming Casino. Yep. And the dressing rooms are trailers in the back, outside in the back of the hotel. So the casino. So she started putting that everywhere, all on the side of the hotel, the dressing rooms and everything. And she was like, "It's already done," you know. And I'm like, "All right. I mean, this is good. This is positive."
Yeah, she's putting it out there.
Yeah, she's putting it out there. And you know, truth, you know, truth is, during the fight, I was behind in the fight. I'm not known as a knockout guy.
Right.
But I ended up getting a TKO to win the title. So I mean,
something worked that night.
Something worked.
Yeah.
And then and then of course we had the rematch.
Yep.
And she told me, you know, before that, she's like, "You're gonna win the rematch easier than you did the first time." And I was like, "Well, how do you know?" She says, "Because when you become a champion, you become better." I mean, she was just smart. She was just a smart lady.
Just great pearls of wisdom like that. Yeah. Now, what was her background like, though? Like, where did all this becoming a pastor and just this outpouring of love and compassion and helping towards people? Did she herself have a rough upbringing?
You know what? That I don't really know. I mean, everything I ever know is that she was, you know, a little girl in Mississippi. And the good thing is I got to hang out with her parents, which were my great grandparents. And they owned a nightclub, you know, so she kind of grew up like that. But she became, at a young age, really wanted to be a Christian and a preacher and stuff like that. So I want to say 11 or 12 years old, that's when she decided, you know what, I'm gonna follow God's path and be positive.
Now,
But
when
I
your
don't
grandmother
really know.
when your grandmother becomes a pastor of a church, that's the church you have to go to then, correct? So you grew up so you grew up seeing your grandmother preaching?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that the funny part is my grandma, she had a best friend who was, because they all came here from the South, Mississippi and Texas. Well, my mom's mom, which is my grandma, she came here, but she had a friend named Flora from Texas, who her husband was a minister also, and my grandma at the time, her husband was a minister, and they had kids, and all the kids grew up together. My mom and my dad, they all grew up as little kids, and so both sides of my grandparents were preachers, and so it was, I either went to my grandma's church or my other grandma's church.
Right. Yeah.
So,
right.
you know,
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of church.
I couldn't
church
go.
on both
I
sides.
couldn't run away.
No. You were destined to be in church one way or another.
Oh yeah.
So I guess so what is the impact that she's left behind on Portland, Oregon, though? And do you still see that impact to this day? Because she passed a few years ago.
Yeah, I do. They still have the health clinic going strong.
Okay.
Still the family's still giving out food boxes and school clothing and school supplies for kids, still helping. And they still show, my grandma used to have a program that came on TV every Sunday. They still show her old videos.
That's cool.
On Sundays.
Yeah.
You know, she has, you know, years and years of archive of stuff. So they still show them on Sundays. And, you know, it's a big impact because everybody that knows me, knew her. And she always talked about me. Whatever she did. So
grandma. Yep. So now let me ask you this, because, you know, you are in the fight game. Big fight coming up, potentially big fight. A lot of them always being talked about. A lot of them always on the horizon. But the big one I think the boxing fans want to see is Spence versus Crawford. Who do you like in that fight?
Man, I like that's a pick 'em. It's
tough.
such a tough fight. And I want to say this too. A lot of people will compare the Sean Porter performance against Spence versus Crawford. For me, I can't really look at that, because Porter was in a different place when he fought Spence as opposed to when he fought Crawford. You know, I believe he was talking about retirement. Once any fighter does that, and you would know that, once any fighter starts talking about retirement, you know, it's so I don't want to judge that, but it's an excellent fight. I mean, I would just say this. I would think Crawford cannot get hit as much as he gets hit, in some fights. With Spence, he couldn't be getting hit clean like he does, But I would say it the other way also. And Spence couldn't take some of the shots he takes, in a fight with Crawford. It's one of those fights where I don't know. I feel like we took a trip back in time where you had, the great, welterweights, two guys that are
a good throwback fight. Yeah,
it's a throwback fight.
Yeah.
I mean, you can flip a coin. I mean, on something like that.
Who is a guy right now that's boxing currently that you really got your eye on, or that you really think is somebody that's going someplace? Is there a young fighter out there who, whenever he's on, like you say, man, I like watching this kid fight?
Boots Ennis.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I've been getting that answer. I've been getting that answer a lot. I've been getting that answer a lot, champ. I'll tell you, a lot of people like Boots. They do.
That guy to me is total package.
What is it about him you like? What is it about him you like when you say total package?
I like his patience. I like his selection of punches. I like he can pick it up. He can bang with you. He can box with you. I think he can fight righty or lefty, just like Terrence Crawford does.
Yeah.
But I like he's solid defensively. He doesn't waste time. He's been disposing of guys that are known to be tough journeyman type guys. He's taking them out.
Yeah.
Like that's rare. Like you see, him taking guys out that are normally tough or give anybody a tough fight.
Right.
He's taking these guys out with ease. And he's so young, and I just know he's going to get better.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
It would be for any other champions, in my opinion, you would have to jump on this guy like probably a year ago. They should have fought him.
Yeah.
Because now he's just going to keep getting better. I like him. I like what's the kid? Ortiz, the welterweight.
Victor?
Victor. Not
Victor,
Victor.
yeah.
Is it
Victor?
Yeah, I don't want to confuse him with the other Victor, that fought Mayweather, the South.
That's the one. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's the name that popped into my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm the other one, the new one, the youngster.
Okay.
I like him too. He's a big punch. Virgil. Ortiz.
Virgil. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like getting the names mixed up.
Yeah.
Virgil, I like Virgil Ortiz too. He can bang. He's. I think the welterweight division is a hot division.
Now, what do you think? Now, you're not terribly old by today's standards. When a lot of these boxers are coming back at this age, you think that's a wise move? Like some of these guys coming back in, or do you think once you've been out of the sport, you should stay out?
You know what? I think it's up to the fighter, but I think the problem is that guys that come back, I would say two of the best guys that did it, in my opinion, the best way were Larry Holmes and George Foreman.
Yeah.
Because the way they did it, and I watched George Foreman's documentary probably 15 times of him coming back and what he did. And he said, it's like kind of starting over. I mean, you have an advantage because, you know how to fight, but you can't just, a lot of these guys don't have one fight or maybe two fights and they jump right in the fire. It's going to take you a couple years just to get your mojo back. You gotta fight guys that's gonna give you, some trouble and help you to work on stuff. So
test yourself. Yeah.
Test yourself. So I would say to each his own, because especially now, I think it's a lot easier with all the nutrition stuff. And people, it looks to me like a lot of guys are older now, but they kind of look younger, revived. I just watched a guy, 56-year-old guy that he did a workout with all these young kids and he beat everybody. I mean, he did it was like a squat competition, but 56-year-old guy just outlasted and beat up everybody. So I think if it's done right, it's possible.
Yeah. How about the heavyweight division? When we talk about the big boys there, like when you see like Tyson Fury say he's going to retire, do you think if Joshua gets his belts back off of Usyk, though, that we see Fury come out and fight Joshua? He almost has to, right? I mean,
I would say he has to.
Yeah. We need to see that, right?
Yeah, we need to see that.
We deserve to see that.
Yeah.
Now you were never a big one for. Now you were never one for in build-ups to your fights for a lot of trash talking, were you? You're not a big trash talker. Now, did any guys ever trash talk you and ever get under your skin, or is that something that you were just able to kind of fluff off?
I would say when I fought David Santos the very first time for the USBA title, he kind of said, and that bothered me. He said, "Oh, he's not on my level," and I'm thinking. Yeah. You and I are fighting. What do you mean I'm not on your level? Yeah. So but it wasn't a bunch of trash talk. But that bugged me because I'm thinking, man, you have no clue what's gonna happen.
Right.
But no, I always kind of stayed away from the trash talk. It never really meant anything to me.
Well, I'm trying to line myself up for one of these big paydays against Jake Paul. and listen, champ, I think I can do it. So I'm trying to think of that first soundbite that I really want to come at him with. So I got one here. Can I bounce it off you?
Yeah.
And you tell me if it'll get you shaking in your boots, okay?
Yeah.
Listen up, Joke Paul. You want to step up and get a piece of Tyrannosaurus Rex Ruger? After I go carnivore on your ass and the crowd is chanting T-Rex, T-Rex, you'll be the one that'll be extinct. Huh?
Hey.
I got all my dinosaur references in there at least, didn't I?
That's good.
I think you were shaking. I thought I saw you shaking a little bit, champ. No?
A little bit. Yeah.
I knew it, man. Hey, at least you admitted to it, though.
I did.
Hey, listen, champ, it was really a pleasure talking to you, man. I loved watching you talk about your grandmother and your face light up when you were talking about her, man. Sounds like an incredible lady. I missed the hell out of my grandmother, too. You know, it almost brings a tear to my eye even thinking about her. It was just great to walk down the memory lane with you and talk about these fights and get your perspective on stuff. I really do appreciate the time, champ. Really, I do.
Oh, me too. Thank you.
Yeah, hats off to you. It was nice talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah.
Especially I would love to do it once we get another show going. That would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be down for that. We'll keep in touch, definitely. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for being on SCUM. Talk to you soon, buddy. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, champ. There he is right there. The champ. I bet he's going to be another one of those guys that ain't going to be able to figure out how to turn off the thing too, right?
Yeah. I think I hit this right. Yeah. There we go.
Did we lose him?
Uh-oh.
Well, I'm very glad we were able to get him. Very glad. And look, we still got him. We still got him.
Still here.
That's all right. That's all right. I love watching this, and our fans love watching it too.
Well, again, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you, champ. Thank you very much. And there he goes. Stevie, 2 pounds Forbes. Guy was born 2 pounds. Ends up being the goddamn IBF super featherweight champ of the world. And a great guy with a great story to tell. A great grandma for him to look up to. I miss mine, Gigi. Love you to death. She gave some life to this right here. And now I'm taking it and running with it. I hope you guys enjoyed that nice little talk with Stevie Forbes. Thanks for joining us on SCUM. I am your host, Rex Ruger, reminding you to take it easy and keep it sleazy. See ya.